a little into the poker mode.
Okay.
The Mayfair is a bridge club, and one of the bridge players who's a regular there is a guy named Victor Romano, and he had been involved. He's a mob guy. He'd been involved in a holdup where someone was killed. He didn't rat anybody out. He did 20 years in Sing Sing, I think Sing Sing. And while he was there, he learned how to play bridge from a former head of the SEC or something big in the stock exchange or some corporate crook. So he got really into bridge and he would follow the bridge magazines and fill out the quizzes and things like that. And when he got out, they rewarded him by giving him New York poker or gambling and dance halls. And dance halls, I guess, were, you hear the dime a dance. As far as I know, that was sort of the equivalent of today's topless bar type
Oh,
thing.
gotcha. All right.
You know, so he was doing dance halls and running poker games. And he ran poker games in people's houses with 5% chop. They'd rent somebody's apartment, sometimes the bridge players. And he would play bridge every afternoon. And I had played once or twice and I couldn't overcome the 5% no cap rake was pretty tough.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was all stud in those days.
Is
And
that how you were supporting yourself in between with poker, or?
at this point, I was working days, going to school at nights, and playing during the this stage in the bridge. I was playing bridge and poker. This is pre going to LA. I guess this must be.
Okay.
I'm still maybe just before, just in high school or just starting at Columbia or something. Still a reasonably straight intellectual kid,
Okay.
and now Vic was an okay bridge player. He could hold his own, lose small, but the rummy players would always hustle him. So one day he's in there and he's playing rummy with one of the hustlers and he's losing. And he says, "Ugh, I got this fucking headache. I can't play anymore. I don't want to quit you, but I can't play no more. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to back this kid, my nephew here. I'm going to back the kid." So that was my first view of Stu Unger, who he probably was like 13 and he looked 11 or 10 or something, sitting up on a book, on a thing to get up to the table to play. And over the next month or so, he whacked out all of the gin rummy hustlers. He was very good at some of the other games. They played things like Bagel and Canasta and games that people made up. And he was very good at all of those games. And then, you know, I sort of lost track of him. I mean, he would go to some of the poker games, but I don't know that I ever saw him at one of the high rake stud games.
So Vic knew he was super sharp and kind of put him in there to hustle the hustlers.
Well, in theory, his father was involved with Vic in sports betting,
Okay.
doing something, and Stewie was like the kid who could do all the figures and figure the lines in his head much better than the bookmakers could using pencil and paper.
I saw the movie High Rollers. I can't remember. I can't remember the actor's name that played him, but yeah, It's a terrible movie, but it's still an interesting story. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah.
There's a couple good, about Stu Unger, right? Some documentaries.
Oh, yeah.
That aren't movies.
Oh,
That
I
are
haven't
really
seen
good.
those, but I'm sure.
No, I mean, also another thing, people always say, "Was he the best you've ever seen?"
Yeah.
And I don't think he was particularly good. Not at gin, he was probably the best, but I'm not someone capable of judging gin. At poker, he was not particularly good because he didn't care about money. So in cash games, he would always play until he was broke or in debt or whatever. Whereas in tournaments, he was the first one to realize this is a 10K tournament. There are two 10K tournaments a year. Nobody wants to get knocked out in the first hour. So he would just, again, as I said, you don't care about money. You go all in, you bluff, raise, whatever. This was in the day where if somebody raised and you re-raised and you didn't have aces, you were bluffing. So now he's re-raising all the time and people are folding. So at the end of the first day, I would think I've done well. I've got 12,000. Stu has 52,000. It's like,
Yeah.
All is, yeah.
so I think he was the first one to realize you could really run over players and accumulate chips early on. And it's not to say he was a bad games player, he just was a bad gambler. And
Yeah, better tournament player, but like if he whatever. Today, if he got in a $500 tournament, a daily tournament, he wouldn't succeed just because you can't run over anyone. And
Right.
it's like if you get in a tournament, no one cares about the money. It's a little bit tougher.
Absolutely.
For sure.
But yeah, like whatever. Rigby's been kind of stopping by our game the last couple of days. He's made a couple of deep runs the last couple of years, but like he has a kind of similar theory. In the main event, people actually care about. It's not necessarily the money, but like it's a freeze out, so they don't want to leave. So it's a lot easier to bluff people. Not in theory it is, but like it's tougher to pull the trigger.
And there are people who came. When 10 friends got together and they put somebody into the tournament and he's out there, he doesn't want to say, well, I got knocked out.
Right.
He wants to make it to day 2.
Yeah.
So, with an hour left to go in day 1.
Not even looking at your cards sometimes. It's true. I mean, I remember my first World Series main event. I had like 15,000 from a 10,000 starting stack or whatever. I was like, this is awesome. I'm probably a little below average, but doing just fine. And like, I folded, I think, for an hour straight. I was just like, I just want to make day 2 for sure.
Right.
I think I folded ace queen a few times, maybe even like 2 nines. Like,
Yeah, I've played it every year since I've been 21, and literally every year without fail, someone at my table is there from like they do tournaments at their home game tournaments in their
Right.
town, and they're the person that won the most of them. So they got the most points, and they got sent to Vegas, and everybody has a small sweat, and then they're in. You know, so they don't want to go out.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
They don't want to have to say, well, I had 2 jacks and I ran into ace king and he hit an ace and jacks. No.
yeah, exactly.
You're out of the club.
Yeah.
It's only here.
Are you tired of playing with players like this? Not this.
No,
like
no.
this? Or this?
Or do you want to play with players like this?
Oh, wait, If you like having fun at the poker table, Table 1 is the game for you. We play high stakes, no limit, 100 blinds. And if you want to get into the game, it's actually super easy. We have a website, table1.vegas. You just go to the website, you click get a seat in the game, and fill out the form. It's that easy. It's your name, it's your phone number, it's the date that you're here, and I will personally reach out to you.
And it's only 5K minimum buy-in. Run it up at 2.5 and join us.
Okay, well, I know we're talking poker, we're talking cards, we're all over the place, but one of the things that I didn't know about you that I saw when I was researching is that you used to run a
Researching?
Yeah,
Okay. Oh,
Googling. Sorry,
okay.
Googling. You used to
Lot of
run
books.
a sports betting
Okay.
network.
So now, let's go back to my gambling pattern. So now I'm playing bridge and poker, drop out, LA, back to New York, going to school, and also now I got into backgammon. I'm seriously playing backgammon. I finally get my MBA and I'm ready to leave publishing and go for a more lucrative career. And I'm sort of fighting with my company. They've promised me a raise, but they said, no, I had to wait another 3 months. And so now I've quit. I'm ready to start submitting my resume. I play not poker, I played bridge with some high rollers on Wall Street, Jimmy Kane, who was then probably second in command at Bear Stearns. So I had some good connections, and he said, sure, we can get you a job doing something. And so I thought I had a little time off, and I won a backgammon tournament for about 35,000, something like that. So now I said, well, there's no rush to go to work. Why don't I just see what happens playing backgammon and fooling around? And so now I was kind of struggling along playing backgammon and bridge and trying to survive. And somebody told me, or I knew, that probably the people who always made money were the bookmakers. So I said, oh, that's pretty easy. I'll become a bookmaker. So I said, okay. And I got hitched up with a bookmaker, and you get something called a sheet where you have players who you're responsible for and they have to bet. So we had good lines. I was very good at recruiting players. So the lines were good. I could recruit the players. The players lost. So everything was going very smoothly. But it turned out there was a big leak for me that I'm not good at collecting. So now I would pay the winners, and I was having a lot of trouble collecting from the losers. So this ended my career of doing that. But during the time of doing all this stuff and dealing with phones and lines and whatever, I had found that there were some winning bettors. So I knew some of the people who were moving money for Billy Walters and some of the big groups. And I got hitched up with a guy who was a very, very good handicapper for pro football and pro basketball. So when we started off, I think I was betting $2,000 or $3,000 a game. By the end of the first year, we were maybe betting 5 or 10,000 a game, and I could bet a game. New York, the books opened around 6 o'clock, so I could bet a game at 6. At 7:45, the line would be unchanged. 2 years later, we were trying to bet as much as we can. We had a whole group of people trying to help us because you knew by the time you made your second phone call, the line would have moved.
Right.
So we had people betting in Vegas and California and Reno and Chicago and Detroit and Florida. So we had people betting and this was, the internet was sort of coming into existence, but it wasn't the force that it is now, so that everyone could instantly see things. And so we did that. Then the government in New York decided that we were bookmakers, and they rounded us up in a sweep of bookmakers. And we spent a long weekend in jail in New York, which was no fun. This was a group that included me. Howard Lederer was helping me then, or my assistant partner, whatever. Um, a couple of guys. One was a top-ranked chess player. Another was a good Scrabble player. So we had games players. Plus, we had a couple of women Howard's mother helped us. There was another woman who was an actress who helped us. So we had a strange cast of characters.
Fresh meat.
And we're whoever was on that night. Now we're in jail, and uh, we get called up. We had a problem where there was a dispute over what we had bet. So we started recording all of our bets. And when the police raided our office, they took all of the recordings. So my lawyer and I and an assistant DA sat down.